Now the last speaker, Freddie Jones, University of Manchester, United Kingdom, about qualitative methods for eliciting the voice of non-speaking neurodiverse young people, a systematic literature review and qualitative meta-aggregation.
Hi everyone. Thank you for being here. I know it's late. This is my first conference, and I'm going to be honest, I'm feeling absolutely wiped, so God knows how you're feeling. So bear with me, I promise it's a short one, although the title is incredibly long. Qualitative methods for eliciting the voice of non-speaking neurodivergent young people. This is the first study of my PhD, and I'll tell you a bit about why I did it. There were both personal and academic motivations behind this. The personal one was that as a, I'd say, overly verbal neurodivergent young person, I felt kind of a bit duty-bound to try and find a way to amplify the voices of non-speaking neurodivergent young people. But also, I've spent, God, 6 years now working with non-speaking neurodivergent young people and seeing in daily interactions them go ignored or neglected or misunderstood through no fault of their own, but just through the ways that we have to communicate, either failing them or not allowing them to maximize their communication. And then the academic reason is, I'm doing a PhD. They kind of say that you've got to do one of these, because otherwise they're like, so you just plucked an idea from nowhere, and I'm pretty much like, yeah, I did. So the methods I decided to use were qualitative meta-aggregation, which I've got to admit wasn't the best choice for a dyslexic, because the amount of times I've had to spell that and I've misspelt it, it's countless. But what that basically is it's kind of like a thematic analysis, like Dan was just talking about, but of whole papers, because obviously I wanted to look at qualitative methods that were being used with non-speaking neurodivergent young people, not just the numbers. So that was why I chose that. And then the systematic literature review bit is because, yes, I did have to include some numbers. Goddamn PhDs. They demand that. So there's a Prisma diagram. Academics in the room will be familiar with this. I don't want to waste my 15 minutes of thunder going through it, but it is available on OSF. Yay, open data. So yeah, I'll do the number bit first, because that's the bit that I struggle to get through. But these are all the different methods that I currently found in my review, which I've got to admit was very, very small, because there were absolutely 0 papers that took the time, to actually consult qualitatively with non-speaking neurodivergent young people. The number, if you want the exact details, is 25. And out of that, I found 9 different methods. Some of them clearly more popular than others. Talking mats, runaway favorite, look at it go. I've got choice opinions on it. When the paper comes out, you can read all about them. But that was kind of like the main headline one. And then there were some other slightly niche, cooler ones that I'd rather spend time looking into. So digital stories was one of my personal favorites. This was developed at the University of Southampton and adapted specifically for non-speaking, I'd say children more. It was like 4-year-olds. And it's really cool. What they do is they get a GoPro, they put it on the young person's chest, and are just like, go for it. And then they use the video that has been found to kind of formulate a story of that person's experience of school, for example, or a day in the life, like it was a vlog, but without the, talking bit. Other interesting ones I liked were all the arts-based methods. Looking at that data was really special, because the kind of creativity and just sheer beauty of the art that was being displayed to, at times, express quite difficult feelings or confusing feelings was incredible. And the fact that someone half my age could do that, and I will never be able to, humbled me slightly. But out of all the 25 papers, there was one thing that I did find, and that was a massive cultural bias. Like Sue was talking about, if you went to her keynote, neurodivergence is kind of like a colonial idea. And when I was looking through the papers, I was kind of aware of this. I did find a paper that was from Indonesia, got really excited. Turned out it was done by the British Psychological Society, so there went that fairly quickly. So obviously, those were all the boring numbers bits. And from that, I did a qualitative meta-aggregation, kind of the themes that those methods were being used to, discuss. I split these into 2 little categories, which were then further split into more categories, and then more categories. I love categories. Can you tell? So the lived experiences one was kind of like the broader kind of talking mats type thing. So not the strapping videos to people's chests and letting them go. It was just basically, do you feel included? Smiley face for yes, sad face for no. And that obviously isn't exactly what I'd describe as qualitative work. It's more like a survey dressed up as qualitative work. But you do you. Obviously, within that, there was inclusion and access as sub-themes, and that was all about, again, like I was saying, do you feel included, and also do you feel like you can access? Where things got fun was when I looked into transition research, because that was when people were strapping cameras and running around the place. Because it would be to look, for example, at how someone was transitioning from primary school to secondary school, or from a mainstream setting to a special educational needs setting, or in the case of everyday transitions, waking up, walking down the stairs. And honestly, some of that footage I found personally relatable, just like people throwing cornflakes. I'm like, I would, if I could, I would. The second category kind of came about through more of the artistic research, which is why I said it was like really powerful to look at. And that was, I kind of termed it ideas of self, because it kind of showed these non-speaking neurodivergent young people using art and other forms of media, whether it was materials, like we had plasticine one in one of the papers, a Lego one, which was really cool. I love Lego. And those were all around kind of showing how they perceive relationships with others, whether these were romantic or social or familial. And they were also just using it to discuss reasons behind their sensory needs and reasons behind their challenging behavior, which if you were to just not try or give someone a textbook would, you never would have got it from, the artist's interpretation of their own behavioral challenges. And I really like this category because it kind of challenges the pervasive idea that I fear is common when it comes to non-speaking neurodivergent young people, and that is that because they're non-speaking, that's that. We can put them in the corner of the classroom, not worry about them, and that's, that's just that. Whereas this showed that they were, happy playing in a playground with others, and if you just left them there, yeah, it was incredibly powerful. So, in terms of next steps, PhDs are a long-ass time, for those who aren't aware. I assume most people are. So that was study 1 in a trio. All good things coming in threes. Dark Knight trilogy, Lord of the Rings, to name a few. And the next steps are going to be aiming towards creating a resource for the organization that I work with that aims on finding ways to include non-speaking neurodivergent young people more, find ways of empowering them, and trying to tailor intervention to meet their specific needs through using those methods that were being used with the non-speaking neurodivergent young people already, mixed with some mad ideas that I have, which probably will involve more Lego, if anything, and more cameras strapped on chests, if that's anything to go by so far. So yeah, I'm going to yield my time there, because I guess people want to go home. But thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. We have time for questions. Please raise your hands in the... Okay.
So first of all, fair dues for having any kind of energy like that at the end of the day. I'm lying here like half asleep going, how the... So I suppose I love the creative way that different parts of the non-speaking experience seem to have been represented a little bit. It'd be lovely if there was more, obviously, but like the fact that some of the studies seem to have moved beyond that kind of really foundational choice making or assent and dissent, and it's like, so I suppose actually my question, because I'll end up rambling, is the one piece that I wasn't kind of quite sure I saw coming through was looking specifically at things like kind of more complex self-advocacy, like ensuring that a person was able to express kind of thoughts, feelings, opinions in a little bit more of a kind of an expanded way than just that, again, that smiley face, frowny face. Is there any research out there at the moment for that in the non-speaking population, or is it just something that's like a big like blinking red light?
Yeah. From what I found, I think everything could be stripped back to basically that rudimentary, either someone else is interpreting it, or it's just simple choice making. And what I do want to do is, with the resource that I create, make sure that we find ways of expanding the scope beyond that, because I hate it. It's not great, but it's what we've got at the moment, and trying to find ways to adapt it and build on it to ensure that we can get to like the utopia that I feel like we both are aiming towards is really interesting. Yeah.
Sorry, sir. Will that resource be available once you're done, like the 20?
Yes, it will be. Give me 2 to 3 years, and it will be in your inbox. I promise.
There was another question in the center, the lady.
Hi. What are your feelings about AI and like writing and AI generating?
Very topical that, because I was just talking to some people on a stand outside. I've forgotten what it's called. Classic. About how they've integrated AI into their augmented communication device. And I like it in some ways because it reduces that cognitive load on the young person and allows for greater expression. But the slight downside is, at the moment, it obviously relies on having a very expensive device, having the latest update of that very expensive device, and also being able to connect to internet network or indeed data. And again, it's probably naive of me, but I'm a second-year PhD student, so I can be as naive as I like. I'm hoping that we can get to the stage where we can find a way that allows for this kind of all-encompassing communication, but doesn't rely on, you know, a really expensive piece of tech. Is low-tech yet high expression, which even saying out loud sounds kind of ridiculous, but hey, I'm determined to try and find a way, and yeah, I'm running lots of workshops at the moment because the whole project after this systematic lit review is going to be co-produced with non-speaking autistic young people. So yeah, we're working together to try and get there, but it's very difficult. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Thank you for that presentation. Just final question or suggestion, I don't know. Have you looked at research around young people with profound multiple intellectual disabilities? Because your Go camera comes from there, and a lot of research has happened there. So how much that is transferable? Because in autism, we like to think we are very special and don't look at other people's research.
Yeah, that's why I use the term neurodivergent as the thing. I've been getting pushback from journals about, oh, neurodivergent, but what do you mean? And I'm like, well, all of it. And they're like, no. And I'm like, yeah. So I've been looking at PLID as well to try and find research from that. I've even been looking at selective mutism as well for techniques there. I'm trying to literally just have a trawl of everything and take like the golden nuggets of information from each field and just drop them in a nice pot and make something hopefully useful. Time will tell. But yes, I have had a look.
So, thank you so much. The time is over. Thank you to participants, to speakers. The first day is closing now. See you tomorrow and tonight for who is participants inside events.